Okay, so we're going to go over some shot sizes today, and the best way I know how to do that is by using pictures. So let's dive in.
Now, this diagram here shows shots that are above the waist. So notice that there's several shots that you can choose from the shoulders up. Now, really, it just depends on how detailed you want to get in your descriptions. And I have a way of kind of grouping some of these shots together, and I'll show you how I do that in a minute. But for now, let's go over the shots as they're shown here. The first one we're going to go over is an ECU or an extreme close-up. Now, these shots are usually shots that are above the chin or a fraction of a body part or object. And they usually have three purposes. Now, the first one we're going to talk about is to emphasize details. Now, in this example, the viewer's attention goes to the peeling shoulder. The reason this might be emphasized would be because maybe the shot before the wife told the husband to put on sunscreen and he didn't. So now he's got a sunburn and he's peeling, and the director wants to show that detail. So he goes into for a ECU of the peeling shoulder. The second one would be to convey emotion. So here we have an ECU of a crying eye. And maybe in a wider shot, we wouldn't be able to see the emotion so much because it's so wide, we might not be able to see that tear going down the face. And here it's very clear that we can see it. And it's also another way of conveying emotion without having any dialogue. So when you look at this shot, you know automatically either this person is very happy or very sad, and he doesn't or she doesn't have to say a word because we see it in her eyes. Now, number three would be to highlight significance. And here we see marching men. Say the shot before the sergeant was given the orders to go to war. So the director in this case wants to show the urgency. So they'll have this ECU to show it's happening and it's happening now. With all the men going off to war, they're on a mission, and there's a lot of them, and they're clearly in their battle fatigues. So now you're probably asking yourself, what's the difference between an ECU and an insert? Because, they're both small, but what's the difference? So let's go over that in this next section. An ECU shows emotion or intensity, for example, like crying or laughing. It also may be used as a body part to show intensity, like a hand grabbing a blanket during a love scene, or say a foot kicking as a man's being arrested. In general, it also just describes the size of a shot. Now, inserts are used to clarify a point, like in a text or a document. Let's go over some common inserts to show you what I mean by that. Inserts are important because they give information. Now, documents like this first one, along with letters or notes, can be used to clarify essential plot points to the audience. Then we have text inserts. Now, these are important because usually the person isn't talking, so we need to let the audience know what the actor is reacting to. Now, another type of insert is a computer screen. Now, this is a big one because many times entire scenes are built around the actor typing on a computer. Now, we're going to get into inserts in more detail on another video, but just remember for now, inserts clarify information and ECUs are more for showing emotion and intensity and describing the size of a shot. Now, let's go into some of the other close-ups and what makes them different from each other. The next size up would be a head close-up. Now, this size is just a little bigger than an ECU because this size includes the chin. Whereas the ECU is above the chin, a head close-up shows the entire face. The next one up from that would be a big close-up. Now, this shot includes the head and the neck. So it's similar to a head close-up, but now you're seeing the entire neck as well. Then finally, we have a close-up. Now, this shot includes the shoulders. And as you can see, it's a little wider than the other shots that we were talking about. But I know what you're saying. All these shots look almost the same. And you're right. And sometimes I'll opt to lump some of these shots together. It really just depends on the pace of the show that you're on and how detailed you want to get in your descriptions. Now, let me show you what I mean by that. For me, sometimes if the shot is within a head close-up, a big close up or a close up, I might just call it a close up. Because when the actors are moving around, they may be going in and out of a head close up to a close up. And by labeling it a close up, it makes it easier for the editor when you have one shot instead of three when the sizes are so close. But just remember, you always want to give it a new letter when the shot changes. But when you can't and they're moving so fast sometimes, just make sure to make a note on that take that it was slightly tighter or looser so the editor knows. Now let's go on to the next sizes. The next size would be a close shot or a medium close shot. Now, this one cuts the person in the chest area. Now, you may hear the term two T's when referring to this shot sometimes on set. And I'm not going to go into detail as to why it's called two T's. I'm just going to let you use your imagination. But thankfully, it's starting to be phased out more on set simply because it makes people feel uncomfortable, myself included. I just want to bring it up so that if it does come up on set, you aren't totally in the dark as to what size they're referring to. Okay, so now let's look at some wider shots. Okay, so the shots we'll be going over in this section will be from the waist all the way down to the ankles. I put a little gun belt on our model here to show where the cowboy shot would be. I just thought it was kind of cute. So let's take a look at some examples of some wider sizes now. This is a medium shot. Now, it's a pretty cut and dry shot. It's a shot that cuts someone or a group of people at the waist. Now, they usually use this size for shots where people are interacting with each other because you can very easily see their facial reactions and body movements. So, this is a very common shot. Then we have our infamous cowboy shot. Now you can see why I put a little holster on our little girl there. The reason they call it a cowboy shot is from the old Western days. Now they wanted to make sure that the guns were in the shot, so they always widened the shot out to include the guns. And it was also a good size for when they were, on horseback. So when they say they want a cowboy shot, it's always going to cut around the thigh area. Then you have the medium long shot. Now, it's also called a three-quarter shot because it cuts the person three-quarters of the way down the body. And so it usually cuts the person around the knees up. Now, this shot is often used to show a bit of the surroundings. So, like in our first shot here, you can see the pretty field and the woman is twirling in it, and it's a really nice composed shot. Now, if we were closer, we would lose a lot of the scenery and we would also lose a lot of her twirling. We may cut her off at the arms or something if it was a tighter shot. And this way, we see the whole area. And in our gym shot, because it's a bit wider, we can see the full length of the dumbbells as well. So let's go on to our next shot. This is a medium full shot. Now, these shots are from the ankle up and usually don't include the feet. Now, this is a nice shot size because it's wide enough to show movement, but close enough to still show expressions and interactions with other people. So let's get into the bigger shot sizes now. These are the shots that will show more of the scenery and will tell more of the story of where a person is. Here are some examples of full shots. Now, a full shot is like the big picture, okay? It'll show a person or a group of people from head to toe, and it's the perfect way to show the whole scene, especially in action sequences. So, like these kids playing in the water on the left here, or the family strolling on the beach in the center. Now, it's also a great way to tell a story, like this man on the walker on the right. It tells the story that we can see that he's progressing with his rehab. So these full shots are a great way when you want to get all the action in one shot. Now, a medium long shot is a wider shot than a full shot, and it includes a small area in general around the subject. So these shots are great for character movement and a way to show how the character is interacting with the environment. Like a group, like this group here on the golf course. It shows maybe it's the woman's first time on the golf course. You see her missing the shot a couple of times. Then you see the group on the bonfire. These people are having a party on the beach, which is great. And then finally, the man is jogging on the bridge. Now, all these shots show how these people are interacting with their environment. So, you need a wide enough shot to be able to show this, and a medium long shot is a perfect size to show all the interaction. So the next size up would be a long shot, or also called a wide shot. Now, this shot is wide enough to dominate the scenery, and people are small in the frame. It gives a sense of scale. So it lets the people watching see the relative size of the characters and the objects and compare them to the scenery around them. Then finally, we have an extreme long shot or an extreme wide shot. Now, these shots are used to establish an area or to open and close a scene. For example, say the scene on the left is about these two people walking down the beach and they're having a conversation. You might want to use this shot to open the scene before you go in for coverage on the conversation. Then on the one on the right might be a scene with two people having a conversation on a ski lift. And in this scene, one of them might turn to the other and say, "You know what? I'm really afraid of heights." And it would be a good shot to cut to show the person's POV of how steep the hill is. So that's another way of using it. Then we have the bottom shot, which could be an establishing shot of the castle at the top of a scene to show where we are before we cut to the car that's driving up to the front gate. So these shots are usually only used for a few seconds. And when you're first starting out, a good idea would be to get your stopwatch out and time some establishing shots on some movies that you're watching on TV. Now, this will give you an idea of how long these shots take so that when you're doing your breakdown, you have an idea of how much to credit the shot. Because even when you're shooting these shots, you're going to have to estimate it anyway, because chances are it's going to be a very long take.
Okay, that wraps up our video on shot sizes, and I hope you learned a little bit today on, where exactly they begin and the end. And if you have any questions on anything that we covered today, please leave me a comment in the comment section, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Okay, so that's it for now, and we'll see you on the next one.